Hey history lovers, the history of South Africa is complex and full of many different cultures, some dating back thousands of years. The first inhabitants of South Africa were the Cocoa and the San people. These two groups are still around today, but their population has been greatly reduced due to colonization. In the 1600s, the Dutch colonized South Africa. They established a number of settlements along the coast and began to explore the interior of the country. The Dutch also brought with them the Malay slaves from Indonesia. The British would later come to colonize South Africa as well, and they would take control of the Cape Colony from the Dutch in 18. The British and the Dutch would fight a number of wars over the course of the next century, but ultimately the British would prevail. During the 1800s, the British began to move people of European descent from the coastal areas to the interior of South Africa. This was in an effort to stop the spread of malaria and other diseases that were prevalent along the coast. The Europeans who moved to the interior were primarily farmers, and they began to grow crops such as wheat, barley, and oats. In the early 1900s, South Africa would be incorporated into the British Empire as a self-governing dominion. However, the British would soon be at war with two of their African colonies, South Africa and Kenya. The British would win both wars, but this would lead to a growing desire for independence among the Africans. After World War II, South Africa would declare itself a republic within the Commonwealth. This caused a political crisis, as Britain still had claims on the territory. Negotiations would eventually take place. The United Kingdom formally recognized South Africa as an independent nation. During the 1950s and 60s, the African population began to resist the white minority government through nonviolent means. This led to the government imposing martial law and eventually banning the African National Congress. The resistance would eventually turn violent, and a number of black South Africans would be killed by the police and the military. In response to the violence, the United Nations Security Council passed a number of resolutions calling for an end to the apartheid regime. However, it would not be until 1990 that the first steps towards democracy were taken. In that year, the government lifted the ban on the African National Congress and released Nelson Mandela from prison. The first multiracial elections were held in 1994, and Nelson Mandela became the first president of South Africa in the era of democracy. Since then, South Africa has become a symbol of hope for people around the world who are fighting for democracy and equality. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.